Why are we all so anxious? Well, there are the bills, the wars, the empty supermarket shelves, COVID, monkeypox, Ebola, Asian hornets. Life is chock full of things to be anxious about with perfectly good reason. Life is dangerous, hazardous, uncertain, unpredictable, and relatively short. So keeping a grip on mental equilibrium is often tricky. The root cause of anxiety is a terror of our own extinction, and yet death is the one and only thing in life we can be certain of. From the day we are born, we are all busy dying. Our cells emerge, grow, mature, wither, and die over and over, until the process begins to slow down and gradually our bodies are no longer able to reproduce enough cells to keep us functioning. And this stark fact is so hard to come to terms with that we spend a great deal of time, money, and energy avoiding it as much as possible. Denial, fast living, gambling, medication, work, travel, sleep are all ways of pushing aside our fear of death. And yet, the fear makes itself felt time and again in anxiety attacks of varying severity. Let's look at how all of these fears link back to our primal fear of no longer being in the world, and consider some possible ways of managing it and living well alongside it. Some common social anxieties. Fear of being overwhelmed by social interaction. Particularly if we are introverts, parties, school, university activities, or busy workplaces can be all kinds of hell. Sufferers from social interaction difficulties are pulled in one direction by their need for reassurance of their worth and validity, and in the other by the intense need to avoid the complexities and extreme stress of managing contact. The strain of maintaining a socially viable persona for any length of time is a real fear of the fragmentation that the shy person dreads. Managing social interaction. Rehearsing. Decide what to wear and what to take well in advance. Look up the venue and plan how you will get there. Make sure you know as much as you can in advance about the event and walk through it in your mind, seeing yourself calmly greeting people and enjoying exchanges. Have a series of questions ready to ask people and think about how you might answer similar questions that might be put to you. Have an escape route. Discover where there is a room, an alcove, a balcony, or a quiet corner where you can take a minute to collect yourself. Leave your coat and belongings somewhere you can pick them up discreetly and leave when you've had enough. Have a plan B. It's a disaster, it's too loud, too chaotic, everyone's drinking too much, and the music's deafening. But you've been specially invited. Arrange in advance for a get-out call from a friend, timed for an hour after arrival, or fake such a call if need be. Know what you can manage. Don't try and get through social occasions which you know will be too much for you. Be firm and say no. Take a buddy. A friend to support and assist will be invaluable in keeping you going, making you laugh, helping you manage your breathing, and getting you out of there if need be. Seek professional help. Anxiety attacks striking repeatedly and often are super distressing, and some sessions with a professional may be useful for support and guidance on how to manage them. We fear failure. A fear of failure is a fear of risk, and a risk is a step into space with no safety net. We may lose our pride. We may lose our house. We may lose our partners. We may lose our minds. A risk is a dance with the possibility of death of different parts of ourselves, and maybe with all of ourselves. Management of the fear of failure. Minimize failure by realistically assessing your readiness for the task, preparing as well as possible in good time, stress testing for possible ways in which failure might occur, considering what your next step will be if failure happens, learning everything you can from any failure that takes place, including a realistic look at whether it was worth the risk and whether it's worth continuing with your project. Fear of rejection. A fear of rejection is a terror of discovering that what we offer is not good enough, that we are not sufficiently valued, that we are not worthy. The existential fact behind this fear is that we are tribal primates. We exist in complex, hierarchical, tribal organizations with high interdependency. To be rejected or excluded in the raw wild is to face certain extinction. To be rejected in the human world is to face social extinction with all its accompanying pain and humiliation. Management of rejection fear. Realistically minimize the likelihood of rejection by coolly assessing your strengths and weaknesses, the competition, the situation, your eligibility, and the appropriateness of your application, offer, or request. Face up to your weaknesses and take steps to improve or minimize them. Know your own true strengths and be confident in your skills and experience. Prepare well for interviews, auditions, partner dances, proposals, and project meetings by knowing who you're meeting, knowing what you're doing, knowing how you will do it, and why you should be successful. Whenever possible, have a plan in place to deal with the rejection. For example, jobs and auditions. Set up several and learn as much as you can from each one that is unsuccessful. Use the information to improve and strengthen your next application. Meetings. Understand in depth any proposals that you put forward in terms of the politics, budget, implementation strategy, possible long-term outcomes, personnel involved, and interdepartmental considerations. And then if your plan or suggestion is rejected, it will be very clear why, and you will be either able to remedy that next time or know that it just isn't possible for the time being. Rejection by groups. Someone once said that you can't be excluded until you exclude yourself, and often we project onto close-knit groups that they are cliquey or snobbish, or some kind of elite club that it's impossible to gain entrance to. But this is often just a group of people who know and like each other and have met through a shared activity. But your fear of exclusion is working overtime. The simplest solution is to strike up a friendly conversation at the bar or the coffee stand or similar with a member of the group you want to enter, but don't be pushy. Keep at it, stay calm, and other introductions will follow. Rejection by individuals. Sometimes people just don't like us. We can charm and flirt and joke and discuss and turn cartwheels, but they don't want to know. And a good question to ask yourself in this situation is, well, do I really want to know them? In fact, do I really like them? You may not. You may just be incompatible. Is it really a loss? If love is involved, has your heart really taken a blow? Or is it mostly pride? Don't get a tattoo. Don't cut your hair, don't buy a sports car. Just give it a week or two and the weight of the blow will have softened a little. Just be kind to yourself. Avoid bitterness, eat well, exercise sensibly, tidy your room, let the dog sleep on your bed, and very gradually, all will be well. Fear of loss of reputation and bullying. Life's rough out there with the tweet and smash gang on your case, or the Facebook furies hot on your tail, or the girls in 6B telling everyone you're a slut, or the office pet whispering behind your back. Your reputation is important. It carries you through the world and proceeds in advance to pave your way or blight your path. Your good name deserves protection, so here are some clues about bullies who want to strip it from you. In a study done by Ditch the Label, a youth charity concerned with the whole issue of bullying, the link is below, 7,347 respondents answered intimate questions about both being bullied and bullying others. The study revealed that bullies were more likely than average to have experienced trauma in the previous 5 years, had low self-esteem, were more likely to have been bullied themselves, had difficult home lives, had low access to education, and had unreliable relationships. These factors are no excuse for bullying, but people who are bullied or fear the loss of their good name need to know that the issue and the problem is always with the person who bullies and never with them. You cannot change yourself to please them because there is nothing wrong with you in the first place. Instead, try these strategies. Personal bullying. Talk to the person bullying if possible and explain how their actions are affecting you. Keep a note of what happened with pictures or recordings. Get help from trusted friends, teachers, parents, colleagues, or bosses. Do not stay silent and isolated. You do not deserve to be bullied. It is entirely the responsibility of the bully, and they need to be stopped. Deal with the stress in some of the ways we've already talked about for different kinds of anxieties. Do not allow yourself to be sunk by it. Fight back by letting your feelings be known to yourself and others, and acting to end the misery. The only reason people side with bullies is because they are afraid for themselves. Stand up tall and tell people what is happening. Cyberbullying. Take screenshots for evidence, increase your online security, do not respond, block the bully, report to relevant authorities, and take a break from social media. Anxieties about health. Fear of contagion, fear of infection, fear of childbirth, fear of cancer, fear of dementia. Our health fears are endless, because we are mortal and death may approach from any direction. So worrying about aches and pains and rashes and palpitations is understandable. But hypochondria can be crippling, with every little bump and sore throat escalating with horrible speed in the sufferer's mind to fatal or debilitating illness. Immediate management. Breathe. Take a cold shower. Walk. Drink herb tea. Look at the garden until you feel calmer. Long-term management. Stop examining yourself for symptoms daily. You will worry. You're definitely going to die, but not yet. If you spend all your energy seeking evidence of approaching death, then in many ways you will have hastened the approach of what you most fear by putting your body into a constant state of stress and high alert. Exercise, eat well, love wholeheartedly, stay occupied, do something for others, and count your blessings. Anxieties for our children, partners, relatives, and friends. Protect little children from harm whilst letting them explore the world safely. They need to test it and their limits. They need to play and grow. Love them enough to draw boundaries and ensure they grow into likable kids, teenagers, and adults. Letting your children explore the world and raising them to live in it fully and well is your job. Your fear for them is the very painful price you must pay and will arise periodically as they make their way through life. They will be as vulnerable and as fragile as we all are, but you'll be there, you'll support them, you'll see them through. Partners, relatives, and friends will all have their crosses to bear, their trials and tribulations, their tragedies and heartaches. If we love them, we will suffer when they do, and worry about them when life is bleak. Being there steadfast, being a good listener, showing we care and not burdening them with our own fears about them is the best and the toughest thing we can do. Stay in the present with loved ones as much as possible, rather than in a projected, catastrophic future. Worry diminishes in the present. It's one step at a time, and the time is now. Anxiety about the seemingly uncontrollable. Ideological possession, incompetent government, climate change, water shortage, poverty, homelessness, war. Anxiety about these things is a complete waste of time, but it's excellent fodder for interesting breakfast conversations. Have a rant to let off steam. Then donate to charities, join a group which has the same concerns, march with others, spend time helping in food banks or homeless shelters, offer aid and contributions to refugees. In other words, being practical and active in response diminishes helplessness and moves us in the direction of exchanging anxiety for effective usefulness.